factor the following. This is like what we did last time. So you look at the last term first. This is positive 12, which means they both better be the same symbol. So if they add up to negative 8, that means they would have to both be negative numbers. X minus, X minus. Factors of 12 that add up to 8 would be 6 and 2. Here, we only have two terms, and you should always look for a greatest common factor first. So 2 and 3, 1 goes into them. But we have x to the third and x to the second. So the greatest common factor would be x squared. And if we divide these both by x squared, or think x squared times what would be 2x to the third, that would be 2x to the first, minus x squared times 3 would give me that 3x squared. X squared minus 5x minus 6. Anytime it ends in minus, it's going to have to be one of each. And they are going to have to be this far apart from each other. So that's scary. Those are like the scary examples, because some people will see 6 and 5 and they'll be like, 2 plus 3 is 5. But in this example, because it ends with minus, they have to be 5 apart from each other, which would be 6 and 1. If that last term was plus, then we would use the 2 and the 3. So to get them to add up to negative 5, it'd have to be negative 6 and positive 1. All right, today we're going to bring in a's. So we're going to have numbers in front of that x squared that are not 1. So everything we've done so far had a 1 in the front, but you should always check and see if there's a greatest common factor that you could take out first. Usually it'll save you some time. So I will show you two ways to do this. I'll show you the very formal book way, and then I'll choke, and then I will show you the way that I had a student show me when I taught in Florida, which was brilliant, and it's kind of a shortcutty thing. So I always like to show you all the tools I know. So this right here, this is called a screwdriver, and that's actually the only tool I know. So, math tools. Okay, all right. So first thing we're going to do is check for greatest common factor. Then we're going to multiply the a and the c, the first and last terms. So let's actually jot these notes in your notes. Step 1, look for GCF. Step 2 will be to multiply a and c. So that's your first and last term. So if we did that here, 4 times 1 is 4. So step 3 would be to find factors of AC that add up to B. Okay, so factors of 1 would be, factors of 4 would be 1 and 4, or 2 and 2. Now which set could add up to 4 in the middle there? That would be the 2 and 2. So once we find that set, we're going to split B. So here's how that's going to look. Now we need them to add up to negative 4, so that would be negative 2r and negative 2r. So we're just going to split that into two terms. And then step 5 would be factor each side, or we'll call it a group, because later they call this factoring by grouping. So you just essentially find the greatest common factor. 4r squared and 2r, the greatest common factor is 2r, which would leave us with r minus 2. Over here, I see the first term is negative, so we have to factor out a negative. 2r and 1, all they have in common is a 1. So we're going to factor that out, which would leave us with 2r minus 1. Now, if you look, I forgot the 2r on this first one. Sorry. is 2r times 2r give us that 4r squared. What was I thinking over here? I think I just got ahead of myself. That's what I'll tell you. 2r minus 1. So if you look at what's in parentheses, they both have 2r minus 1. That's a good sign, because that will go in the parentheses for one of our final answers. The other part of the final answer is the greatest common factor that we took out, the 2r minus 1, which happens to be the same thing. And then, so this is the final factored answer, but we can clean that up. It's the same thing, 2r minus 1 times 2r minus 1. We're going to rewrite as 2r minus 1 squared. So we multiply, look for greatest common factor, multiply the first and last, split the middle, factor each side. What you have in parentheses goes in one of them. What you have outside that you factored out goes in the other. So we'll try that again. And then after we do this second example, then I'll show you the other method that we can factor these with. Look for a greatest common factor. 8y squared, 28y, and 60 are all divisible by 4. So we can factor out 4. 4 times 2y squared, 4 times 7y, 4 times 15. Now that 4 just hangs out until our final answer. We can ignore that for now. Then we're going to multiply our a and c. 2 times negative 15 is negative 30, which means it has to be 1 plus and 1 minus, and they have to be 7 apart from each other. So it could be 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, or 5 and 6. Which set is 7 apart? The 3 and the 10. So we're going to split the 7. Now it does not matter which one you write first, just make sure, because it adds up to negative 7, that you have it as negative 10 and positive 3. So again, it doesn't matter which one you write first. Let's say I wrote the negative 10y first, and then the positive 3y. We brought down our negative 15, we brought down our 2y squared. Now we'll factor each side of this. So 2y squared and 10y have 2y in common, which would leave us with y minus 5. 3y and 15 have positive 3 in common, which leaves us with y minus 5. So we're ready for our final answer. First thing we need is the greatest common factor we took out right at the beginning. So the 4 goes out there. One of the sets of parentheses, and it doesn't matter which one, will be what they have in common, the y minus 5. And then the other set of parentheses will be the greatest common factors, 2y plus 3. It does not matter which set of parentheses you write first. It's all good. And that's our final answer. Now if you're like, okay, great, but how would I check that? So a couple ways you can do it. You can multiply the 4 times the y and 5, make it 4y minus 20, and then FOIL that with the 2y plus 3, first, outer, inner, last. Or you can FOIL the two binomials first and then multiply by 4 at the end. That also works. So again, this is called factoring by grouping. It's great, it takes a little bit of time. The way I'm going to show you now is pretty similar, but it's a little bit quicker. Same first step as always. Look for a GCF. So here, the only thing that goes into all of them is a k. So we factor out the k, we're left with 7k squared minus 22k plus 3. Same second step. Multiply the first and last term. 7 times 3 is positive 21, which means they have to both be the same sign. Now if they add up to negative 22, they'd have to both be minus. So we're going to write like the skeleton for it right now. K minus, K minus. Now factors of 21 would be 1 and 21, or 3 and 7. Which set will add up to the 22? The 1 and 21. Now here's the only difference. With this method, you break it up early, and then you try to divide them by the number in front of the x squared, or in this case, k squared. So we're going to try to divide these both by 7. Now, if you can do it, do it. If you can simplify it, simplify it. But when you have a fraction like 1 over 7, and you can't simplify it anymore, the 7 comes to the front. It becomes 7k minus 1. Here, I have 21 divided by 7, which is just 3. So k minus 3. And don't forget about the k that we factored out initially. This is our final answer. So look for a common factor, multiply your first and last, and it's kind of like splitting the middle, right? The 1 and the 21. And then you just try to divide them by that first number. And once you try this method a few times, I think you'll prefer it. But we'll practice. First, I'll write it on this video screen. Now that I've done that, let's move on. Common factor for 7, 2, and 14? No. So we multiply the first and last. 7 times negative 14 is negative 98. It's negative, so they have to be this far apart from each other, 2. So initially, again, because it multiplies to negative, it's going to have to be 1 plus, 1 minus. We're looking for a set that is 2 apart from each other. So 98 could be 1 and 98. Those are 2 apart. 2 and 49. 3 doesn't go in there. 4, no. 5, 6, no. 7, yeah. 14. 8, no. Is this one not factorable? 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. I don't think we can factor this one, because none of the factors are 2 apart. Great. And what is not factorable? Oh, that's kind of a lame start after I just got so excited with the shortcut method. All right, let's try. I feel like I might be forgetting factor. 14. Sorry, I know this is the least exciting part of this video. I just want to double check, make sure I'm not ruining it for you. 98 divided by 8, no. 98 divided by 9, no. 10, no. 11, nope. Okay. All right. I'll just keep this in the old back pocket just in case we need it. All right. Common factor on number 5, 9a squared, 3a2, no. So we multiply first and last. 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. Has to be one of each. Now because they add up to negative 3, our big number is going to have to go with the minus initially. We need them to be 3 apart. So 1 and 18, 2 and 9, or 3 and 6. 3 and 6 would be our numbers that we need. So it have to be minus 6 plus 3. And we have to try to divide them by the first number here, 9. Now neither of these evenly divide by 9, but we can simplify both of them. 3 over 9 would reduce to 1/3, and then we'll take the 3, kick it to the front. 6 ninths would reduce to 2/3, and we'll take the 3, kick it to the front. So this becomes 3a plus 1 times 3a minus 2. That's it. Now, if you want, you can FOIL this out. 3a times 3a is 9a squared. 3a times negative 2 is negative 6a. 1 times 3a would be positive 3a, and 1 times negative 2 would be negative 2. This gives us 9a squared minus 3a minus 2, which is the original problem. It feels so good when you're factoring things. It feels so good when you're factoring things. We'll call this the factoring factory. Okay, greatest common factor? No. 5 times 2 is 10, and it's positive. So they're going to add up to the middle term. What factors of 10 add up to 11? 1 and 10. Have to both be plus. Doesn't matter which one you write first. And then we have to try to divide them by the number in front of 5. 1 over 5, you can't simplify that, so the 5 just comes to the front. 5x plus 1. Here, 10 divided by 5 is just 2. X plus 2. Woo! Woo! Done, son! I have 5 more, I think. Now, if you've got it at this point and you're at home, you could probably not worry about these ones. But if you want some extra examples, we're going to go over all these anyway. So 4 times negative 5 would be negative 20, which means it has to be one of each. A plus something times A minus something. And they have to be 8 apart. So the factors of 20 that are 8 apart would be 2 and 10. To get them to add up to 8, it would have to be plus 10 minus 2. Try to divide them by the first number, the 4. Neither one do, but they can both be simplified. 10 and 4, 2 goes into them. Goes into 10 5 times, goes into 4 2 times. We'll kick the 2 to the front in a minute. 2/4 would reduce to 1/2. We'll kick the 2 to the front. So we have 2a plus 5 times 2a minus 1. 4x squared, negative 9x plus 5, no common factors. 4 times 5 is 20, and it's positive, so they have to add up to the middle, negative 9, so they have to both be minus. The factors of 20 that add up to 9, the two numbers we just used, 4 and 5. What shall we try to divide them by? The number in front, the 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, x minus 1. 5 divided by 4 you can't do, so you just kick 4 to the front. 4x minus 5. This is too much fun, Mr. Plant. I'm kind of sad that we only have 3 more examples. Don't forget, if your first term is negative, we have to factor out that negative sign. So in this case, I know I'm factoring out a negative right away. Does anything else go into 6, 3, and 18? Yeah, free. So we'll factor out negative 3, which would give us positive 2x squared, positive x, and negative 6. If we multiply the first and last, 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, which means it has to be one of each. So it'll be x plus and x minus. They add up to positive 1, so they need to be 1 apart from each other. Numbers that multiply to 12 and are 1 apart would be 3 and 4. So to get them to add up to positive 1, they have to be plus 4 minus 3. Try to divide it by that a, which is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 3 over 2 you can't do, so you just bring the 2 to the front. 2x minus 3. What am I missing? Oh, the greatest common factor I took out of the beginning. Yes! 10a squared plus 11a plus 3. Do they have anything in common? No. No, they don't. So multiply the 10 and the 3, we get positive 30, which means they better both be the same sign. If they add up to positive 11, then they have to both be plus. A plus, just like on your quiz, and A plus, just like on your quiz. As I only have a limited number of jokes, so I got to repeat some of them. Factors of 30 that add up to 11 would be 5 and 6. We try to divide them by a, which in our case would be 10. What I said is probably confusing on this one because we're dealing with the variable a as well. Come on, Mr. Plant. Simplify. 5/10, 1/2. The 2 comes to the front, 2a plus 1. Okay. 6 and 10 are both divisible by 2. This becomes 3/5. The 5 comes to the front, 5a plus 3. Now, if you have a little bit of time on a quiz or test, but you don't have enough time to completely FOIL something out, just do a quick check. make sure when you multiply the first terms in each one of them, you get the first term up here, and make sure when you multiply the last terms in each one of them, you get what's at the back. Don't necessarily worry about the middle one if you don't have time. If you do have time, FOIL the whole thing. 2a times 5a, 10a squared. 1 times 3, 3. That's a good sign. All right, one more. I know. Don't be too sad. We'll have plenty of time to factor, okay? Don't be too sad on me, okay? No common factor. If we multiply 4 times 9, we get 36. Positive 36. So they need to add up to the middle. They need to both be the same sign. In this case, they'll both be minus. Factors of 36 that add up to 12 would be 6 and 6. We have to try to divide them by a, which is 4. 6 over 4, they're both divisible by 2, so this becomes 3 over 2. Kick the 2 to the front. 3 over 2. Kick the 2 to the front. 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3. But come on, we're cooler than that. We don't want to write it like that. We want to write it as 2x minus 3 squared. That's how cool we are. I don't know,